Do you believe you need a huge plot of land and endless back-breaking work to be self-sufficient? Do you feel like you're stuck on a gardening treadmill, tilling, sowing, and starting from scratch every single spring? When you see the withered, frost-bitten skeletons of last year's tomato plants, do you feel a wave of exhaustion before you've even bought a single seed packet? That feeling, it's the #1 reason most people give up on their gardening dreams. But what if that was all a myth? What if the secret to a truly resilient food-producing garden wasn't about doing more work, but working smarter? What if you could plant once and harvest for years to come? What if your garden could become a self-sustaining asset, a permanent food system that gets more productive over time with less and less effort from you? That's the magic of a powerhouse perennial garden. It's a total shift in thinking that can turn even a small backyard into a literal food factory. And we're not just talking about a few herbs, we're talking about real, calorie-dense, life-sustaining food. Today, we're going to show you 7 powerhouse crops that are the foundation of this system. These aren't just plants, they're long-term investments in your food security. Some are true perennials that come back on their own, while others are what I call self-perpetuating annuals, crops that let you harvest your own planting material, freeing you from the garden center forever. If you're tired of starting over, this is for you.
The underground calorie bank. Potatoes. The first powerhouse on our list is the humble potato. Now, before you say it, I know what you're thinking. Potatoes aren't perennial, and you're right. Technically, they're not, but they are the absolute king of self-perpetuating staples and the perfect example of a plant-once system. Your initial purchase of seed potatoes can be your last for years and years if you play your cards right. So why is it a survival powerhouse? Calories, pure and simple. Potatoes are one of the most efficient ways to produce carbohydrates in a small space. For anyone looking to be more self-reliant, calories are priority #1, and potatoes deliver. They're incredibly productive, and unlike leafy greens, they can be stored for months, giving you a food source deep into the winter. Here's the plant-one secret: saving your own seed. After you harvest your potatoes, you cure them for long-term storage by letting them sit in a cool, dark, well-ventilated space for about 2 weeks. This toughens up the skin and heals any minor cuts. Then you just set aside the best, healthiest, blemish-free potatoes from your harvest to be your seed potatoes for next year. Store these in a cool, dark place, and they'll wait patiently until spring. You've just created a closed-loop system. While it's a good idea to bring in new seed stock every few years to prevent disease buildup, you can keep your own line going for a very long time. And you don't need long, tilled rows. Potatoes are fantastic for container gardening. You can grow a surprising amount in a big fabric pot or a large bucket with drainage holes. The method is called hilling. You start with a few inches of soil, place your seed potato, and cover it. As the green plant grows, you just keep adding more soil or straw, burying the stem. New potatoes will form all along that buried stem. When it's time to harvest, you just dump the container out. No digging, no lost spuds. It's clean, efficient, and perfect for a patio. My pro tip is this: don't just grow one kind. Plant a mix of waxy potatoes like reds, which are great for boiling, and starchy potatoes like russets, perfect for baking and mashing. This gives you culinary versatility straight from your own backyard.
The dual threat tropical. Sweet potatoes. Our next crop is a true game changer, especially for those in warmer climates. But with a few tricks, it's viable almost anywhere. It's the sweet potato. And if you think this is just another root vegetable, get ready. This plant is a dual-threat powerhouse, providing not just calorie-dense tubers, but also a continuous supply of highly nutritious greens. First, the plant-once aspect. In nearly frost-free climates, often zones 9 and up, sweet potatoes can act like a perennial, with the vines growing and producing year after year. For the rest of us, the magic is in the slips. A single sweet potato, one you grew and stored from the previous year, can generate dozens of new plants. You just place a stored sweet potato in moist soil or halfway in a jar of water, and in a few weeks it'll sprout leafy vines. These are the slips. Each slip can be gently pulled off and planted to become a whole new plant. One tuber can populate your entire garden patch. That's the definition of self-sufficiency. But here's where it gets really interesting for a survival garden: the leaves. Sweet potato leaves are not only edible, they're a nutritional superfood packed with vitamins and minerals. In fact, some studies show they can be just as or even more nutrient-dense in certain key areas as spinach or kale. The flavor is mild and pleasant, and you can cook them just like any other green. All summer long, while you're waiting for the tubers to form, you can be harvesting the leaves for salads and stir-fries. It's 2 crops in one. For small space growers, sweet potatoes are a dream. They're vigorous vines, which you can use to your advantage. Let them spill over the side of a large container or raised bed as a beautiful, edible ground cover. Or you can train them up a trellis, growing vertically to save precious ground space. Just give them the sunniest spot you have. My pro tip for sweet potatoes: when you harvest the leaves, take the young, tender ones. This encourages the plant to get bushier, and these younger parts are the most delicious. Don't be afraid to harvest regularly. The plant will just keep producing. It's a win-win. The protein pantry: dry beans. Now let's talk about protein. In any self-reliance scenario, a reliable source of shelf-stable protein is critical. This is where our third powerhouse comes in: dry beans. Like potatoes, these aren't true perennials, but they exemplify the harvest for years philosophy better than almost any other crop. You dedicate a small patch of your garden for one season, and in return, you get jars of food that can sit on your pantry shelf for a very, very long time. The beauty of dry beans, whether they're pinto, kidney, black, or an heirlooms variety, is their simplicity. Most types come in a bush form, which is perfect for small gardens. They're compact, don't need trellising, and you can fit a lot of them into a small space. Beans aren't heavy feeders. In fact, they are nitrogen fixers, meaning they work with bacteria in the soil to pull nitrogen from the air. They can actually improve your soil, especially if you leave the roots and plant debris in the bed after harvest. The harvest for years concept is literal here. You let the pods mature on the plant until they are completely dry, brittle, and the beans rattle inside. Then you pull the whole plant and hang it in a dry, airy place like a garage to finish curing. Once they're bone dry, you shell them, a great activity for a cool autumn evening. The beans you store in an airtight container can last for years. While they're safe to eat for a very long time, it's good to know that older beans might take a bit longer to cook, so they're best used within the first couple of years for top quality. For small space gardeners, bush beans are the way to go. A 4x4 foot raised bed can produce a significant quantity for your pantry. You plant them, and for the most part, you can just let them go. And of course, save your own seeds. Set aside some of the best-looking beans from your harvest, let them dry completely, and store them separately. These are your seeds for next year. You're not just creating a food supply, but a seed supply, making you truly independent.
We're about to get into the true perennials, the plants that will form the permanent backbone of your garden. But first, if you're finding this information valuable, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps this video reach more people who are looking to build their own resilient food systems. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Okay, on to powerhouse number 4. And this one is all about long-term storage and serious calories. I'm talking winter squash. Think butternut, kabocha, and Hubbard squash. Like beans, these are annuals, but they earn their spot because a single harvest can feed you right through the winter and often into the spring, giving you a harvest for a full year from one planting. The trick is choosing the right varieties for storage. Some are absolute champions. Varieties like butternut, Hubbard, and kabocha are known to last for months, with some types reportedly lasting for up to a year under ideal conditions. The flavor of many of these even improves in storage, getting sweeter and more complex. The process starts with a proper harvest and cure. Let the squash mature on the vine as long as possible, but grab it before the first hard frost. Leave a few inches of stem on, as this acts like the seal against rot. Then you need to cure them. This is a critical step. Leave them in a sunny, dry spot for a week or two, or bring them into a warm, well-ventilated space. After curing, store them in a cool, dry place, ideally around 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. An unheated basement or a cool closet can work. Don't pile them up. Give them space for air to move around them. When you do this right, you'll be enjoying roasted butternut squash soup in February from a plant you grew last summer. Now, for small spaces, these vines can be a challenge since they love to sprawl, but this is where you can get creative. If you have the space, let them ramble. If not, go vertical. You can train winter squash up a sturdy trellis or fence. You'll need to create little hammocks out of old t-shirts or netting to support the fruits, but it's an incredibly space-efficient way to grow a lot of food. My pro tip for winter squash: after curing and before storing, wipe down the outside of each squash with a cloth dampened with a very diluted vinegar solution. This helps kill any lingering mold spores on the skin that could cause rot. It's a simple step that can make a huge difference.
Now we move into the world of true perennials, starting with one of the most productive leafy greens you can grow, perennial kale. If you're tired of planting kale from seed every single year, this is your answer. These aren't your typical kales that go to flower the second year. True perennial kales are woody, shrub-like plants that can live for 5, 10, or even more years, providing a continuous harvest. There are several varieties to look for, like Taunton bean, Dobbingtons, or purple tree collards. These are usually grown from cuttings, not seed. You simply take a cutting from a healthy plant, stick it in some soil, and it will root, creating a clone. Once you have one plant, you can create an entire hedge of perennial kale for free. The benefits are huge. First, the minimal labor. You plant it once, and that's pretty much it. It just gets bigger and more productive each year. Second, the harvest window is incredible. You can often harvest leaves year-round in milder climates, and for many months, even in colder zones. It provides fresh greens when nothing else is growing. For small space gardens, a single perennial kale plant can be a cornerstone of your food production. Tuck one into the corner of a flower bed or in a large pot. It will grow into a handsome shrub. As it gets larger, you can harvest individual leaves or take cuttings from the top, which encourages it to become bushier. My pro tip for perennial kale is to treat it like a living food bank. When you need greens, you don't go to the store. You walk out to your kale shrub and snap off a few leaves. It's the ultimate in fresh, convenient food. And if a friend wants to get started, you don't give them seeds, you give them a cutting. Look for these varieties from specialized nurseries online. They're an investment that will pay dividends for a decade.
If there is one plant on this list that truly embodies plant once and harvest forever with almost zero effort, it's the Egyptian walking onion. Also known as tree onions, these are one of the most fascinating and productive plants you can have in a survival garden. Here's how they work. A walking onion is a perennial that looks a bit like a large spring onion. But instead of producing flowers, the stalk grows a cluster of small bulbs at the top, called topsets. As these get heavy, the stalk bends over and touches the ground a foot or two away. The bulbils then send out roots and plant themselves. The plant has literally walked to a new location. This plant is a multi-purpose marvel. You can eat almost every part of it. The green shoots can be used just like chives, and they're often one of the first green things to pop up in the spring. The top-set bulbils have a potent, spicy onion flavor. You can cook with them or pickle them. You can also dig up the bulbs at the base of the plant and use them like shallots. Because they're perennial and they plant themselves, one small patch can supplement your onion supply indefinitely. They are incredibly hardy and require virtually no care once established. While they won't replace your need for large storage bulb onions, you'll have a constant supply of green onions and shallot-like bulbs with zero effort. For small spaces, they're perfect. Plant a small clump in a container or in a corner of a raised bed.
They're very easy to control. If they walk somewhere you don't want them, just pull them up and eat them. My pro tip is to think of them as a two-part harvest. Use the green stalks freely all spring and summer. Then, in late summer or fall, harvest most of the top sets. Use some for cooking, and just push the others into the soil wherever you want a new patch of onions next year. It's that simple. We've arrived at our final, and perhaps most controversial, powerhouse crop, the Jerusalem artichoke or sunchoke. This plant is the very definition of a survival crop. It's a true perennial tuber from the sunflower family, and it is incredibly productive and tenacious. In fact, its tenacity is why it's controversial. Let me be clear. Plant Jerusalem artichokes where you want them to stay. They are notoriously difficult to get rid of because they spread. They are not for the tidy, orderly garden bed. Give them their own dedicated patch or grow them in a large, sturdy container. If you have a neglected corner of your yard, this plant can turn it into a high-yield food source. You plant the tubers once, and every year a forest of tall, sunflower-like stalks will grow. After the first frost, you can dig up the knobby tubers. Their plant-once nature comes from the fact that it's almost impossible to find every single tuber when you harvest. Any tiny piece you leave in the soil will sprout next spring. This guarantees you a harvest year after year with zero replanting. The tubers themselves are crisp with a nutty, slightly sweet flavor. They store their energy as inulin, a type of fiber that acts as a prebiotic, feeding the beneficial bacteria in your gut. They can be roasted, mashed, or made into a delicious, creamy soup. For small spaces, container growing is the absolute best way to manage them. A large pot will keep them contained and makes harvesting a breeze. At the end of the season, you just tip the pot over, take what you need, and put a few tubers back in with fresh soil for the next year. My pro tip for Jerusalem artichokes: the harvest window is very long. You can start digging them after the first frost and continue all winter long and into early spring, as long as the ground isn't frozen solid. The tubers are actually sweeter after they've been exposed to a frost. Think of your sunchoke patch as a living root cellar you can dig from as needed.
So there you have it, 7 powerhouse crops that can fundamentally change the way you garden. We have self-perpetuating staples like potatoes and dry beans that let you create a closed-loop system. We have the dual-threat sweet potato, giving you both carbs and greens. We have the long-storing winter squash that feeds you for a year. And we have the true low-labor perennials, perennial kale, walking onions, and Jerusalem artichokes that will form the resilient backbone of your backyard food factory. Building a garden like this isn't about having acres of land. It's about making smart choices. It's about working with nature's desire to persist. By choosing plants that store well, perpetuate themselves, or come back every year, you get off the gardening treadmill. You stop being just a consumer of seeds and become a producer of your own food. You're building an asset, a living pantry that becomes more valuable with every passing year. Self-sufficiency isn't an all-or-nothing game. It can start with 1 pot of potatoes or 1 perennial kale plant in the corner of your flower bed. It starts by choosing to plant just one of these powerhouses. If this video helped you rethink your garden, hit that like button to help it spread to others. And be sure to subscribe for more practical tips on building your own backyard food factory. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 7 crops are you most excited to try? Or if you're already growing some of them, what are your pro tips? Drop them in the comments below. Let's learn from each other and grow together. Thanks for watching.